The first thing I want to talk about today is social interaction. Back then, I heard a lot about loneliness and isolation, especially many experts were warning about the danger of the world population becoming ever lonely or isolated. But the truth is that I never felt truly lonely or isolated or disconnected before. I even thought to myself that as an introvert, I would just be doing fine, even if the world out there is becoming much more isolated or disconnected. And during that time, when I went on social media, I would encounter those series about those living alone but not feeling lonely, the art of living alone without loneliness. And I was convinced that as an introvert and as a follower of this cultural movement, I've accumulated enough knowledge in order to start living independently with happiness if I ever have the opportunity to move out of my parents' home. Fast forward until now, I no longer live with my parents because I got a job in another city. Yes, I still live with my sister, but my social life in general has become so much less interesting compared to when I was a student. There are less opportunities for me to meet new people and make new friends. I still have friends, but I do not see them as often because I guess all of us are busy focusing on our career and our personal life. This is the moment when I truly learn how isolation and loneliness and disconnection really feel like. Sometimes my sister just goes to spend a few days with her friend, or she would go back to visit my parents, and during those times I'm just all alone by myself. And the irony is that when I was still surrounded by people for most of the time, I always dreamt of those days when I started living independently and I got my own space. I got to be alone for the entire day, and I was really dreaming about this kind of life. But when it is finally here, I do not feel the sense of joy or happiness. Instead, I feel very lonely and isolated, and it's like there is an empty void inside my heart that needs to be filled with something that I feel the need to chase after. And this is the moment when the realization finally came to me. Yes, as an introvert, we may need less time for social interaction, and we may need more alone time for recharging our energy. But at the end of the day, fundamentally speaking, we are still human creatures. Therefore, we still need and crave social interactions in order to have a fulfilling life. A more terrifying thing is that my sister will soon graduate from university and she will move back home to start a career there, meaning that I will have to live alone all by myself, and I need to master the art of living alone without feeling loneliness, which is super tricky but very necessary if I don't want to battle with mental health problems. One solution for my loneliness problem is to find a community and try to become a part of it. I have a few options available to me. The first one is to join a musical theater group, which I did find, and I absolutely loved it. I felt very happy when I was there. Everyone seemed very nice and open-minded, and I had such a blast whenever I interacted with people of that group. However, I couldn't choose this option because of the price. The group is sort of a musical theater course that you need to sign up for and pay a tuition fee, but the fee is not affordable given my current salary. So this option is not available to me at the moment. The second option is to take a Japanese language course. I'm learning Japanese at the moment, so I would really appreciate any opportunities to interact with people in that language. However, I could not find one course that offer what I need, which is interactions between learners or interactions between learners and teachers. All of the Japanese courses I've found so far only focus on exam preparation, which is such a shame. I feel like there is certainly market for language learners who want to take the course in order to truly improve their communicative ability. However, that kind of course is not available for Japanese learners at the moment in where I live. So it's very disappointing to learn about this. The second option is also not available at the moment. And then I thought of a third option, which is to take a musical instrument class. And I found one. It was about learning how to play ukulele, which is great because I want to learn how to play an instrument. I love music. I think it's very relaxing if we get home after work, we play a piece of music, we sing along. It's very calming and stress releasing for sure. However, I did not have any music lessons before, so I didn't really know what to expect when I came to the class. But when I took a trial lesson, I finally learned that the only social interaction I could have in a musical instrument class is the one with the teacher. And because it is a group class, I do not even have the majority of time to spend with the teacher, because the teacher has to move around the class, interacting and instructing other students too. When the teacher finally comes to me, it's essentially one-on-one kind of interaction, which is a lot of pressure for introverts like me, because it's very demanding. Once the teacher finishes their turn, it's instantly my turn to respond, and it's not very ideal for an introvert in a new environment. But finally, I have to settle down with the musical instrument class because I need some interaction, and this is the only option available to me at present. After everything that had happened, when I was trying to search for opportunities to socialize more with human beings, I felt very emotional in a way. Like our world has become so advanced in terms of technology, but we haven't solved the old age problem of loneliness and isolation. And worse is the fact that not only could we not solve this problem, we are making it much more terrible for the next generation because the whole world is becoming much more isolated and disconnected than ever before due to those technological advances in AI, in virtual worlds, in online communications. When these technologies were developed, I think creators did not think about its impact on people's social life and the fundamental need of humans to be with others in order to thrive and have a fulfilling life. The second thing I want to talk about today is awkwardness. Whenever we hear the word awkwardness or awkward, we often think about people like that person is very awkward or he's so awkward, she's so awkward. However, recently I have just discovered a mind-blowing piece of fact. Actually, awkwardness is not a personality, but it is a situation. Yes, it's undeniable that some people might appear to be more awkward than others, and I think I'm one of them. I have a severe case of awkwardness. I feel very awkward when I have to talk to or interact with strangers, and even though the other person might not be awkward at first, but after interacting with me, I think they might end up feeling a little bit awkward too. And do you notice what I said earlier? I only feel awkward when I have to interact with strangers. The keyword here is strangers. I do not feel awkward interacting with everyone. When I'm with my family or my close friends, I feel very at ease and there is no such thing as awkwardness. However, if I have to talk to strangers, most of the time I feel very awkward. And that struck me. So it's not actually that my personality is awkward. It's the situation and especially the people I have to interact with would define whether the interaction would be awkward or not. By the way, this is not a self-discovery. I did not realize this on my own. I actually learned this through a podcast, but it's very mind-blowing to me, and it helps me realize that my awkwardness is not my responsibility. After this realization, I no longer blame myself for making a situation feel awkward because now I know it's not a one-party business. It's the responsibility of multiple parties involved in the interaction. The last thing I want to talk about in this video is companionable silence. The other day, I heard of this term, and I feel like this is the goal of any relationship. It's so great when I can finally hear this goal being verbalized into words. This is nicely linked to the previous point on awkwardness, because as an introvert, whenever I have to talk too much, I will feel very tired, even fatigued, because talking too much just kind of drains up all of my energy. However, when I am with people who I'm not close to, I would feel the pressure to talk a lot and to perform, to fill up the silence, because I'm just afraid I might be perceived as being rude if I just keep silent for a long period of time. However, I realize that when I am with my close friends or my family members who truly understand me and who would never find my silence as rude or offensive, they would just be okay with me being silent. And I think that's a defining moment for the relationship because we have reached the highest point of companionable silence, where we would be just existing in harmony without the need to interact with words. And sometimes, when I am in the room with others and I become quieter because my energy is being drained, I will be questioned by a few, like, why are you being so quiet? Why don't you speak up? Why don't you say something? Before, I would kind of pick myself up for that, and I would kind of take it on my own, oh my gosh, this is like my shortcoming. I need to say something. I need to fill up the silence. I shouldn't make them feel awkward. Now I kind of admit that, like, I'm an introvert. Sometimes I would become quiet because I need to kind of save my energy for something else, or I don't even have any energy left to talk to you. And it's not my responsibility to fix your feeling of awkwardness. And that kind of shows that you and I, we are not close enough and you are not my true friends. That's it. End of discussion.